inwe state police ahụ ifu na a ga-enwe adequate policing na this me arapụkwazi Enugu kwadoro akwado. So with all these gadgets, ọ bụ ụmụ agbara ka a na ya lụrụ gadgets a na ihe niile, ọ bụrụ mmadụ bụ ndị a ga-etrain maka na oge nye ka na training itrain ndị ifo ka esi wee train ndị DRS mana ọ ka akwa federal police mana abịakwa train ha for that special purpose. Mana market and all the entire police force will be trained in such a way that na they prevent crime and ensure na ụdị ha emerọ. So ọ dị mkpa na enwe state police, ọ dị ezigbote mkpa oge mme ọrụ nchekwa ọ dị intact ọ gbadata dị ka inye ya anya ọfụma na ya wee na-eme ya udo kwesịrị. Ọ bụrụzi arapụ ya onye polisi kombo ọnụ ya n'elu onwe ya bụ na ị na-ekombo ihe n'elu mana ya bụ na iwetụrụ aka naanị ya na wee kwuru maka steeti polisi bụ iwetu aka naanị wee zacha ghọtara mana polisi steeti polisi abụ abịa ko wedem okwu agwụgo ịghọtago. So that's the essence.
Ụjọ ndị mmadụ na-atụ n'ihe gbasara steeti polisi anyị ụfọdụ na-afụ ya na ndị gọvanọ nwere ike jiri ya na-emegide otu na-ama ọchịchị aka n'iru. Kọwara anyị ma emegego nkwadobe ịma na ka ọ dị kịta iwu na ihe niile gbasara steeti polisi aka na-enebi anya mara nke a ga-ewepụ mara nke a ga-etinye. Nke mbụ bụ anyị akwadobego Enugu steeti o mebego nkwadobe maka ya. Ọzọ bụ ọ na-adị gị ka maọbụ nwe ka isi afụ na ọ bụ na emeche nwe ya na ọchịchị steeti a ga-eji ya na-emegide otu na-ama ọchịchị aka n'iru.
Okay, ka m sagoro nke isi na steeti adịgo nkwadobe ya. Onye na-anụrụ ka nwa Adimogoro enye ọzọrọ onye ahụ kwụ na ntị nke bụ na ọ nwere steeti dị nkwadobe ka Enugu steeti anyị akwadobego kwadosi ike na-emekwa ihe ahụ. Neighborhood watch a gịnị ka ha bụ kedu nke ọzọ ndị forest guards gịnị ka ha bụ just empower them the more. Alright, mana ebe n'ihe gbasara ihe a na-akọdo si gọvanọ ga-eji a wee megide opposition. O nwere gọvanọ chọrọ iji police kita wee mee opposition imegide opposition ama mmenwu ya ihe oge ribe ego ịghọtara o nweghị ọzọ ya eri o and you can't outspend state government. Ọrụ bụrụ ọchọkwa kita ọkwa he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Ọchọkwa kita use commissioner of police ọ ji eribe ego ọchọ ma use military ego ka oge eri ọ bụrụ anyanwụ oji ego wee megide ndị a. So that thing is neither here nor there. So from ihe gọvanọ ga-eji wee megide opposition na again. Moreover na ịmago na enwere ife a na-akpọ first line charge or part of ihe a na-ekwu na mbụ na ego ndị a ga na-eweta maka ndị uwe ojii ga-abụ State Police Service Commission. A ga-enwe State Service Police Commission a ga-enwe first charge on their money nke bụ na a ga-ewepụta ego ha so na ụmụ ihe ha. So mana ekechekwa ha na aka na-ekwu maka ya nweche nkwụcha a na-eke maka nkwụcha abụrụ ụjọ maka gọvanọ iyuzi ya wee megide anybody mana o nwere onye na-abụ gọvanọ forever and I don't think na onwe gọvanọ ga-eyuzi ya maka ya ahụ gọvanọ ga-eme kịta ka ọ ka emekwa again. Yes, ya ị na-ekwu na gọvanọ ga-eyuzi steeti oge onye ahụ bịakwara gọvanọ onwe steeti police onwe kọmishọna kịta gọvanọ ama kontrol ya oge ribe ego oge ri onye ahụ bụ ego ọ gwaghị ihe ị ga-eme eme ya obunye gị ego n'ịmago na ndị polisi na ego na-adị na mma obunye ha ego kịta efu ya ịghọta nwekwa ndị ha na ego adị na mma mana a na-ekwu na onye chọrọ ime ụdị ha ahụ ga-emenwu ya.
Ọ dị mma
ịghọtago.
Ọ dị mma na ụdị nso a ka ebido na-anụ akụkọ mwakpo dị iche iche a na-eme n'ụlọ akwụkwọ na-atọrọ ụmụ akwụkwọ ma ndị nkụzi ma nke mere na Ọyọ bụ nke uzuzu ya ka na ọka na-erugharị kịta. Kedu ka eziokwu na Enugu steeti ihe dịka ọnwa gara aga onwe ụbọchị anọgide n'ụba akụkọ na-eze agụ na ha bịago na a na-atụ ọrụ ọtọrọ ụmụ akwụkwọ anụkwa ya na ọbụkpa na Nsụka ebu ụzọ nụ na ọbụkpa n'ụtụtụ na-eru na ifie ekwubekwe na eze agụ mana anyị meche chọpụta na ihe anwa niile dịka ụlọ ọrụ dị uwe ojii si kwa bụrụ eziokwu. Kedu ka steeti a ji dị nkwadebe ịfụ n'ụdị ihe mere na Ọyọ steeti ama mme na Enugu steeti?
Ajụjụ ga bụ jos ka repeat onwe maka na onwere n'ihe ahụ niile
maka ejiju bụ ya bụ anyị ewegoro anyị agago n'ọtụtụ ụlọ akwụkwọ dịka ndị ọrụ mgbasa ozi anyị amarọ m ebe nwere amụma nchekwa siri ike ọ ya ka njiju bụ ajụjụ a.
Aghọtara m ihe na-ekwu mana o nwere amụma siri ike ọzọ karịa ihe anụnwa ifụrụ alụgoro n'Enugu. Alụgo command and control center tinyesie camera everywhere with DRS na patrol everywhere. Nwere amụma ọzọ karịrị ya ya ahụ niile na ana monitor Enugu 247 were kwa burukwa drone na-agagharị ebe niile. School ahụ ọ bụrụ part of it. School bụ part of it. And let me tell you, onwere imago ina afife na-eme ya na-eme na-egosi gị ị try to bring solutions to prevent it. What I know, like kita now na-eme na school ọ ga-afịakwa arụ na Enugu a. Ọ fịala ezigbo arụ na Enugu a na ụdị fa ga-eme. Ọmame nkwa na Enugu a igwa gị eziokwu. Ọmame nwu na Enugu a bụ the kind of things anyị nwere on the ground. Na ndị a ga-abịa na school bịa kpokoro teachers n'ihe a kpụrụ ha ebe ka onye ahụ si aga, ebe ka onye ahụ si apụ n'Enugu a, ebe ka onye ahụ na-aga, ebe ka isi apụ, ebe ka ị ga-esi kpolo ha wee pụba with the kind of thing kwadobe anyị kwado n'Enugu. Ka m na-asị gị na onye ọbụla na-asị ka enyelu nzọụkwụ petermbah maka na Enugu a bụrụkwa ebe egwu achụtaba n'aka agba n'ihe gbasara sekuriti. Ịnwa anya anwa ọgbụgba gbachie gị ịfụ na ọ bụrụ na a na-ekwu n'ọnụ na ihe ekwu n'ọnụ ka a na-eme n'aka. Onye ga-try ya. Perhaps they have tried and seen not possible here. And not possible. Ọ
dị mma ịma ihe ọzọ nji jụọ ihe a bụ na ị na-anya na ụfọdụ ụlọ akwụkwọ enwero defense, enwero gates, CCTV camera dị, drone dị, mana amụma nchekwa nke enwere ike imegodu dịka iru fence n'ụlọ akwụkwọ ma itinye ndị nche ma inwe ndị eleanya ndị uwe ojii nọgodo nso iji maka dịka m kwuru ya mgbe a na-ebido mgbochi ọrịa ka ọgwụgwọ. Kedu ihe Enugu steeti gọọmenti na-eme iji fụ na eziokwu na CCTV camera dị, eziokwu na drone DRS nọcha n'ebe nke ha nọ, mana ka ihe a na-emegodo iji kwalitegodo nchekwa n'ụlọ akwụkwọ ga-abụ dịka na maka ihe mere n'Ọyọ bụ mmepe anya nye ọtụtụ ndị mmadụ. Ọ bụrụ na amarọ m ụlọ akwụkwọ anwa ma o nwere fence mana o nwere, mana a na-ekwu na mgbochi ọrịa ka ọgwụgwọ.
Fence na-egbochi ihe na fence ị na-ekwu okwu ya bụ fence nke a ga-agba ụkwụ ọda ma nke a were ihe gbupụ. Ọ
bụ na gọọmenti Enugu steeti rụba ya dịka isi ekwu arụbịa a ga-arụshi ike ọma mbụ nke a ga-agba ụkwụ ọda.
Fence abụrụ fence enwere ihe ọ na-eme. Ije na America ndị mmadụ losio na ada ịma na ọ n'ebe a ka a na-alụkebe fence a. America nobody builds any fence mana security dị intact. Ọ bụrụ about fence na ihe na-agwa gị bụ na all schools are secure. Ọtago n'Enugu State all schools are secure. Anyị ma ọ bụrụ na amara ife a na-eme, ọ bụrụ ijeje lụ fence na alụchara fence everywhere. No, fence bụ ihe wee aza anị most of the time. Ifu na fence nke ya wee zọta anị. Fence abụrụ maka security. It doesn't prevent anything. Mana ihe abụ ihe wee aza anị ka ya secure anị nke ọtago. So that is the point. The point bụ na like I said, na ada akọsi ife niile gbasara security on air. Ọ bụrụ ihe m ga-abịa ebe a kọọlụ gị ife niile ihe na-eme. Mana ihe m na-agwa gị bụ na all the schools are secure na Enugu State.
Ọ dị mma. Anyị bịa na amụma nchekwa ụdị ọgbara ọhụụ emite ezigbo mkpụrụ dịka anyị kwuru, enwe kamera, enwe drone, enwe ihe niile ọ mmadụ na-eme operate ha dem operate n'onwe ha. Ọ dị gị ka Enugu State gọọmenti nwere ndị ọrụ azụrụ azụ ọfụma zuru iji mee ihe ndị a niile operate hụ na ọ na-arụ ọrụ nke ọma.
Ị na-anya na command and control center. Command and control center na a na-alụ ọrụ de 247. Ọ bụrụ ebe a na-asị gị security onye ọbụla sign na ya ga-arụ security mana ọlụ dị. Ka na-eme operate. So na enwelu ndị nọ there 247 n'abalị na monitor ife na-eme. Ndị DRS ahụ niile nọ na nọcha n'ụzọ. The other day ka m na-anata Nsụka around ebe 9:30. DRS ka nọcha n'ụzọ by that time. Maka onwe ndị ọlụ ha bụ na oge ndị nke ọzọ na-arahụ ụra na efifie ka ha nọ ọlụ. Ndị nke ahụ na-achite na ndị nke ọzọ ejebekwe bịa arahụzi ụra bịa zuo ike. So na na-enwe shifting. So ifu na a na-ebu policing bụ something dị 247. Ọ bụrụ ya na-asị gị na ya na-akpọ ka ya ezu ike mba. A na-enwe shifting. Ndị nke alụọ this time. Maka mmadụ ka anyị bụ. Ana mmadụ need to reboot. Nọgide ọ bụrụ ka ọ reboot n'ọnụ ụra ka eji reboot mmadụ. So ndị ahụ ga-arahụ ụra mana ndị nke ahụ ọ bụrụ na ịlụrụ night time mazị na echi ama nke ahụ nwe ka afa si eme mazị na echi na ị ga-alụ de nwe ka esi emechi anya ka ọ ghara inye nsogbu like that.
Ọ dị mma gọọmenti ama weta ihe gbasara nchekwa sọsọ ya ndị mmadụ nwere oke n'ọrụ nke ha. Kedu oke n'ọrụ ndị mmadụ ma ndị ndu ụka ma ndị igwe ma ọha obodo n'ime na amụma mbọ a niile gọọmenti na-agba na ọ ga-amịta mkpụrụ?
Ịma na anyị na-ekwu okwu na-asị na security everybody's business. Even though na gọọmenti emechoghị ihe niile emelu, mana onye ọbụla nwekwara their own duty to ensure that the environment is secure. By first of all, alerting the security. Ọ bụrụ na ị nwere intelligence na so is happening, inform the people who are in charge. Nekwe ihe ya na-afụ n'ebe a. Ọ dị ezigbote mkpa. Ọ dị ezigbote mkpa na onye ọbụla dịrị alert, dịrị alert n'ife gbasara security ka make sure that na ị bụrụ a victim. Ịghọtago? So ọ bụrụ na ịfụlụ na nwere ka esi eji ije n'ịghọtara, let the police know, let the DRS know, their number dịcha there. You could dial that number and let the people know. Oke dịkwalụ ndị igwe bụ n'ichekwa obodo bụ na maka na igwe oge nwa bụ traditional ruler of your place. Mana ime anya kịta efu na most of ndị igwe a niile ebicha na town. Igwe kwesịrị ibi na town, na igwe kwesịrị ibi na obodo ya wee na-echekwa obodo. A na-agwakwa ndị maka na onye ọbụla nwere obodo osi. Onye ọbụla anybody ga-eje into crime nwere obodo osi. Ọkwa kịta ka eje mee family arrest ndị ahụ niile kidnap chara people. Ya nwere but ọ bụ na igwe bụ unu na na-enye sensitize the people na-agwafa ọghọm dị na crime na ọ bara uru na mmadụ na-eje na crime. Mana ọ bụ na ị nwere issue maka na ife oge ụfọdụ na ihe na-ebugacha a na-asị na ihe na-ebugacha ụmụ ogbenye na ihe a bụ afro ka emelụ. That's why government say na na-enwe non-kinetic approach to security by creating jobs. And I create jobs. Government is creating jobs. This government na youths enwekebe afụlụ ife a na-eme maka na onye dey busy nwe ife ọ na-eme nwe time for crime. So na ihe a niile bụ ọlụ dịle ma ndị igwe ma ndị town union ịma n'obodo ha dị mma. Ihe ọzọ bụ na ụmụaka kịta ụmụaka anyị kịta na-esechi igbo, ese mkpụrụ mmiri, ese kolos, onwe ndị go na-ese firewood ha nwa amaghị anya na-ese. Mana ihe dịle obodo ikwu n'obodo anyị na anyị tiri iwu anybody na-eje esi igbo enwetaghị na ị na-ese that thing. Ịma na ị ga-arapụrụ anyị data obodo ma nnatazi a ga-abanish gị. Ghọta ga-emechi ụmụ ya because all ha na-emeche ụmụaka ha they take to crime. Esechi ha na-ese they take to crime. Ha na-afụ mmadụ adị ha ka nda. Even onwe ife mmadụ ejebe maybe crime, zubori, maybe all these things. But all that youths are engaged. You understand? Education is also good. Education be light. You understand? It's tinyo maka ni heba salo kita na petermbah alugo 267 smart schools. And all the fukane from crèche to GS3. Eba na akuzuri ma AI, ma robotics, augmented reality, ICT skills and everything. You know skill. You can even stand on your own, providing jobs because it is a solution. Which problem you gonna solve and we'll be making money. All right, so that's why the government is doing what it's doing in education, making sure no matter in education and skill-based education, so that you acquire these skills and use it to help yourself. That's what government is doing. So government is strategic to prevent crime. It's a non-kinetic approach to crime prevention. So all the above ndị nne na nna maka na ọkwa n'ụlọ ka esi emebi asị na nwatakịrị nọ na-arịa afịa nne ya wee mụ n'ori. Parents ọlụ dịkwalụ parents in instilling moral rectitude in their children. Ọlụ dịrị parents ịdị na-agwa nwa gị si ya nekwe ụzọ ka ememe nke a ji asị na eji na nwata agbagọ nkịta ọdụ. Ijiri nwayọ na-agwa ụmụaka gị. Most parents now nwere time for their kids. They don't have time. Eba na achụgharị nke a na-achụgharị nke a mana ife a na-emebi n'ụlọ emecha children will take to crime. But ebe na parents nọ wee na-agbakwachi ụmụaka ha anya wee na-agwa ha na ihe adịrọ ma ga-eme na nke ga-eme na nke a. The Bible says train a child in the way he should grow. When he grows, he will not depart from it. So that is it.
Daalụ nne n'ikpeazụ ịna-anya kịta efu na ndị omekome na ka ụbọchị na-aga ka ha na-esiwanye ike nwee ngwa ọgụ katara arụ. Were tinkom 30 gwa onye na-esonyere anyị ihe ọ na-atụ anya na gọvanọ Peter Mba ga-eme na ọnwa na izu na afọ ndị na-abịa abịa n'ihe gbasara nchekwa
Well, security is a growing concern or something ongoing. And one thing about petermbah that he is a man living above his generation, because some of the things I make it na aga mana inechedu na governor na-eme nke na nke omelu kacha omekwu ọzọ. So na governor mba ekugo na security na ya mmadụ eji n'ihe gbasa security wee gusie ego. So na oge eme ife ọbụla ekwesịrị ime mekarịa to ensure that may prevent the crime na Enugu State. So nya bụ nkwa governor kwara anyị bụ ife ọ na-eme. And anyị ga-enwe trust n'ịhụnanya n'ebe ọ nọ. Maka ito dike na nke omelu omekwa ọzọ. O wee na-agawa ya n'iru na-echekwa obodo. Maka na nchekwa obodo dị mkpa.
Dr. Ruben Onyeisi daalụ maka isonyere anyị n'otobo nke taata n'ịkọwapụtara ihe gọvanọ Peter Ndubisi megoro na nke ọ ka ga-eme n'okwu gbasara nchekwa. Daalụ rinne.
Oh, thank you.
Onye nwa sonyere anyị tụọ ka isi wee hụ ya na nke taata. Ọrụ nchekwa abụghị ọrụ sọsọ gọọmenti. Ọ bụ mụ na gị na-abụ nwere oke n'ọrụ na ya ka anyị gbakọta aka ọnụ ihu ebe ihe na-adịghị aga ọfụma wetara ndị ọrụ nchekwa ozi ka anyị gbanye ya aja n'ukwu bụ mbọ gọvanọ steeti a na-agba ịhụ na akwalitere nchekwa ndụ na ngwongwo ọha steeti a. Ọ bụ na mma oke m gị nwa mee oke gị mana Enugu steeti ka dị mma maka na be anyị ka anyị nọ. Daalụ maka isonyere anyị n'otobo nke taata. Anyị ji n'aka na ọ gara nke ọma karịa ka isi wee tụọ anya. Chebere anyị ụbọchị Fraịde ka anyị wetara gị agba ọhụụ n'isiokwu ọhụụ na ya bụ ihe omume. Abụ m Joshua Uzioko na-ekele gị maka isonyere anyị. Udo dịrị gị.
Obodo ọbụla nwere akụkọ, aka mgbe ọbụla nwere ihe butere ya, nsogbu ọbụla kwesịrị inwe ogbugbo, site n'ọchịchị ruo mmepe obodo, site na nchekwa ruo na mmụta, site n'omenala ruo na akụnụba. A na-ewepụta okwu ndị ahụ na-emetụta anyị ma leba ha anya. Ọ bụ ohere n'okwu gị dịka a na-ajụ ajụjụ ma na-enweta ọsịsa ajụjụ ndị ahụ. Ọ bụ ihe mmemme a na-ele anya n'okwu ndị ahụ metụtara anyị ya na ọdịnihu a chọrọ iwulite. Sonyere Joshua Uzioko n'otobo dịka ọ ga-akpọta ndị ọnụ na-eru n'okwu, ndị ma ha ekwe na-akụ nakwa ọha na eze ka ha tinye ọnụ n'okwu ndị ahụ gbasara anyị niile. Otobo maka inweta ozi ndị ahụ bara ezigbo uru. Ọ na-abịara gị kwa ụbọchị Tuesday na Friday ma ọkụ elekere 5 nke uhuruchi na Aneke TV. Otobo maka ọdịmma anyị niile.
Aneke television. Heu, agịrịgbo m dị egwu nkwa azụghị n'ahịa mgbochi ogwugwu kakwa ogwugwu ema. Heu, mba ụwa bịa na ihe ebube eme. Mgbagbu ụwa gbatawa na ihe ebube emewa. Aneke television na-emere ogbenye mere amadi ihe. Ị na-agba nkwụ, ị na-eme nkepụta nwa, ị na-akwa ozu, ị na-agba akwụkwọ. Bịawa na Aneke television, bịa ka ezuoru gị ozi ọma. Bịawa na Aneke television idume. Heu, na-emere ogbenye mere amadi ihe. Ume Igbo bịawo na nke a bụ nke anyị. Ị mara ebe oge ọrụ etiwo mọnwụ ntakịtụkwa mọnwụ si nne. Ya mere ha ji wee weta Aneke television. Ọ bụ onye gbagburu agụ nna, ọ dị na soshal midia, ọ dị na mgbagbu, ọ dị n'Enugu steeti, ọ dị na
Time, the silent witness to human courage, the keeper of memory, the archivist of greatness.
Across the vast landscapes of Africa, from the savannas to the bustling cities, voices once rose, ideas once bound, and visions once dared to challenge the limits of their age.
They were not merely individuals. They were epochs in human form.
In literature, minds such as Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, and Ngugi wa Thiong'o reclaimed the African narrative.
Through ink and imagination, they dismantled distorted histories and restored the dignity of African identity. Their words were not just stories.
They were mirrors, reflecting a people long misunderstood, and windows opening the world to the depths of African civilization.
In the realm of science and knowledge, pioneers like Philip Emeagwali proved that African intellect could reshape the frontiers of computing and technology. Their work was a quiet revolution, reminding the world that innovation knows no geography.
And in leadership, towering figures emerged when history demanded courage. Men like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Kwame Nkrumah, Nelson Mandela, and Julius Nyerere redefined freedom, not as a privilege bestowed, but as a right reclaimed.
They spoke for millions. They endured prisons, exile, and resistance. Yet, their vision transcended the politics of their time.
They dreamed of a continent awakened. Today, their echoes travel through generations.
In every African classroom, in every curious mind, in every dream that refuses limitation. For history is not merely what has passed, it is the foundation upon which tomorrow stands.
The past still speaks. Its lessons remain. Its voices endure.
This is not just remembrance, it is inheritance. Echoes of the past, where history breathes and legacy lives on.
us on Arena, Aneke TV's premium current affairs program, where politics, development, and governance come live. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we host top professionals and thought leaders who speak their minds on issues shaping Nigeria and the world. It's inclusive, enriching, and absolutely captivating.
The roadmap is, let's have our environment secured so that investors can come.
If you don't know what economic security is, kidnapping will tell you what it is. You kidnap ransom.
Customers are going to get these meters, and like we said, it's at no cost.
There are things that dialogue can handle. But when you leave it, you want to use a kinetic approach alone. You cannot.
For discussions that promise insight and deliver truth, stay tuned, stay informed, and keep watching Arena, only on Aneke TV.
A pleasant morning to you viewers for joining us this beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us this morning, and welcome to Sunrise. I am Princess Ken Ochoma.
And I'm Uche Osai saying good morning to you and to you, our global audience. Wherever you are, at home, in your office, even in Alaba International Market or Ariare Market in Aba, yes, Mem Market or Keta Market in Enugu or Gige Market in Nsukka or New Market Afioforo in Aba, we say thank you for joining us, for letting us into your briefing space. We're here to refresh, inform, and motivate.
The weather, as we know, is building up. The rains are becoming more persistent, and the urge to just want to lay in bed and, cover up is becoming much. I don't know if Mr. Uche will allow me one day to just curl up in bed and drink that pap I asked for yesterday. I mean, you see what I'm going through in the hand of Mr. Uche in this place. He will make promises, he will not fulfill them. But then again, I mean, it's another morning.
Let the accused answer for themselves.
No.
I hope that one day I'm allowed to take that one day I'm allowed to take a vacation of 3 months as well.
I did not. Let me tell you
the places I want to be. The places I have not been.
Okay.
I want to go see Victoria Falls. I have not seen it yet. Yes, and I want to take a moment to relax at Obudu Cattle Ranch another time.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I keep telling you about the places I want to visit?
Want to stay in my
Do
house.
I keep telling you about the places I want to visit?
You want to visit me? I just want to.
And then I want to be able to go for another shopping, somewhere in Qatar. As well. Yes.
Okay,
so these are the things. Those are the things I want. So one day we'll pray and Aneke will grant us such requests.
Well, it's not because of Aneke, it's because of the love.
Mr. President will grant the Chief of Staff some leave. So.
Well, every once in a while we all desire, but then again, for the love of the job.
But come to think of it, let me be a little bit. What they call it, the word of the women. Yes, a woman wants to lay in bed. A man wants to go out, irrespective of the weather, the rain, and everything.
Yeah.
A man wants to go and hustle. A man wants to go there, be at the war front, make more money, come back home, and then still pet the woman that doesn't want to go.
Oh wow, that's not true. That's not true. We also want to work.
The word of women is what a cozy word.
No, it's not as cozy as men would think or as glamorous as you people will think it is. For us, it's not that easy, of course. The only advantage.
It's not easy.
It's not as easy. No, I'm not saying it's not easy being a human being.
Okay.
Every human being has its challenges.
Now you get me. But we're talking about the species now. Are you talking about the word of women?
The word of a woman is not easy.
Being a woman, born to enjoy.
Who said so?
The mothers start from empowering you in the kitchen. Okay. Teaching you how to control the man's stomach.
Okay.
You know,
so how is that? Telling you that
the kitchen is not meant for men.
How is that enjoyment?
Then you have extra portion in the kitchen. The slice of fish from the kitchen. That's an advantage. And then you now take,
you know what it is?
You take appropriate authority of the kitchen.
Because that's the only way
controlling the stomach.
I'm limited.
You know what our forefathers say? You know what they say? You know what Africans say? You know what Africans say? The way to a man's heart. The way to a man's heart is the stomach. And then they gave the female child the control.
That's enough responsibility to find
from getting into teenage age. You are taught to control that aspect of man. You know, and then men go out.
So who teaches men to find their way into? So what is the way to a woman's heart then?
The way to a woman's house. That's what men do all the time. That's why you see us dying early. That's why you see us. That's why you see us dying. That's why you see us dying early. Because they are rarely satisfied.
There's no one.
You get a man, a woman, a Venza. She start looking for a Prado. You bring a Prado, she start looking for Escalade. You bring an Escalade, she start looking for a Bugatti.
That the life is not easy for either of us.
No, but the world of women is so glamorous. The man would have to go out, under the rain, the sun, looking for ways, your husband, all your life, just to make money to please a woman somewhere.
Mr. Che, although some persons have used it to their advantage, life is not easy. Do you know what it is to control kitchen? Thinking of what to cook, how to cook it, not cooking what you cooked yesterday, and thinking of the nutritional values and everything, how to coordinate. It's not an easy work.
That's the picture you always paint. That's the picture women paint. But you know what it is? It's just like the CBN governor.
Yes.
Telling you that he's out of wars of a brand new notes to spend. How do you believe that? You really believe that? So the women want to scare men away from the kitchen, telling them the fire is hot, is much
well,
hot.
They are
so that they continue
the kitchen now.
Yeah, some of us exceptional, some of us, yes, we are good at it. But that doesn't mean the fact that about 90% of the women still retain the control. No, you retain the control. We
want more men in the
kitchen. Retain the control.
We want more men in the kitchen, don't worry.
You start complaining.
All right, I'll go right into our quote for the morning. Our quote this morning from Steve Biko. And it says, the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The most potent weapon, the most significant weapon, the highest form of weaponry in the hands of an oppressor is the mind of the oppressed, and such that the oppressed does not even realize that he's being oppressed. That's the highest weapon. That's the strongest weapon in the hand of any oppressing system, any oppressor, be it a human, be it an entity, be it an organization. The highest weapon that they know, that they realize that they have over people that they are ruling is the fact that they have the mind to control, to decide, to manipulate the mind of the oppressors. That is their greatest weapon. And it's only when you decide to leave it to them, it's only when you realize or you understand or do not understand the power that you have as a living citizen. You submit your authority, your mind, as it were, to the persons who oppress you.
Very well said. I'll just add a little here. When I see these quotes, just what comes to my mind. The next election, 2027 election, comes to my mind. The fact that the registration, PVC registration is ongoing, and there are a lot of persons who don't want to participate, saying that their vote would count. What I say that is mind control. Just like this quote is telling you that the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. There is a mind shift. You are meant to believe that your vote won't count, but the reverse is the case. Because they've made it for you to believe that your vote would count, then you want to stay away. You won't get your PVC, you don't want to participate in the process, you won't go voting. Then, on the day of the ballot, the polling centers become scanty, giving the politician the opportunity to manipulate, to rig an election, because there is a mind shift. You believe that the vote won't count. But they do know that the power you have is in the ballot, the ability to cast your vote. So they don't want you there. When you interact with politicians, they are sincere enough to tell you that you can't rig an election where there is, popular participation. When the people turn out and vote, it's hard to rig such election. There is apathy, where there's low voter turnout. People, they tend to have the privilege and opportunity to rig the way they want. So what Steve Beko is telling us here is apt, that the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So this mind shift makes you give power to your tormentor, to your oppressor, believing that you do not have the power to question what they do or to change the situation. No, you have that power. That's what we're saying this morning. The power is in your hands. Go get your PVC, get registered, and when the hour comes, yes, cast your vote. It does count, and it has in it the power to effect change. Do not be like those who, get up to their, the slave mentality, who now, continue to live in the imaginary chains. Even when they are set free, they are still, in captivity in their mind. No, you can be free. True. And you have the power in you to change the narrative. You do not continue to give the oppressor the overhand to continue to, do the way or dictate. No, the power is in our hands. With our PVC, we can effect the change that we want.
Okay, that's our quote this morning from Steve Biko. The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of his oppressed. That's the quote. We'll take a short break, and then we'll be bringing weather updates for the day. Stay with us.
Law is the architecture of civilization, the silent force that orders society and defines justice. Yet, within its complexity, many remain uncertain of their rights, their obligations, and the protections the law affords. From the inviolability of human rights to the intricate doctrines governing property and civil relations. This is a platform where law is demystified, where principle meets practice and knowledge becomes empowerment. Because justice is not abstract, it is personal. You and the law on Aneke TV.
You're still watching Sunrise here on Aneke TV. Next, we'll take a look at the weather report across major cities in the southeast today.
You're welcome back. I'll be getting right into our newspaper headlines and analysis for the day. And the papers we shall be reviewing this morning are the Daily Sun, the Frontline Africa, Punch, Vanguard, and the Daily Trust.
And joining us as always is Aneke TV's in-house analyst with deeper insight and sharp analysis, Mr. Res Arum. Mr. Res, a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Res, how's it been?
Well, it's been there. We are getting on. When the trend gets tough, the tough trend gets going. And we belong to the tough trend. We have been getting on with a very tough Nigerian situation.
All right. Before we get into the conversation proper, Mr. Rice, let me get your feelers around the PVC voter registration exercise that is ongoing. Do you have any feelers as to what is going on right now?
Well, the other thing I have is that there's not enough mobilization to spur people to get their PVCs getting ready for 2027 elections. And even the remaining staggered elections in some states of Nigeria. So there should be enough, orientation, enough mobilization of people through both the media, civil society groups, and of course the traditional way of mobilization, which is the earliest form of media practice. Going into the communities, using the gong, the earliest form of journalism in this part of the world, using the gong, the drums, and the ekwe, and all of that, to make people realize that they should go for their PVC, so that there won't be that kind of apathy. Apathy is a major problem in Nigerian election, because just like you were, I heard you analyzing the Steve Biko quote. You see that people, give up, live in a kind of slavery, even when they are free. So they don't give up. People should not give up their minds to what the oppressors are, requiring them to do. Don't but get your mind and continue to remain in oppression. That is, remain being oppressed. So people should free their minds. So people should free their minds and get the voter's card and believe that making demand of the system, voting for the election and staying there to guide the result will actually bring about change, because the change is all about leadership. Leadership will take Nigeria to the desired Eldorado.
That's quite interesting, Mr. Reis. But beyond every other thing, you raise a very, very important question. That is making a comparative analysis on the, ancient medium of communication and the modern age where the social media, has taken over. But in some other time, we'll go into that comparative analysis. It's a pleasure to have you also.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we're starting off from the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun headlines, and it reads, the appeal court ruling, ADC kicks heads to Supreme Court, rejects judgment affirming High Court ruling barring INEC from recognizing state congresses. Faction uploads UBA Barkindo as president, vice president candidates. Party chieftains cry wolf as Atiku accuses Electoral Commission of aiding anti-opposition agenda. Now, the ADC has rejected the judgment of the appeal court in Abuja concerning the party's ward, local government, and state congresses, insisting that the ruling does not affect the validity of its direct primaries or the emergence, and they have, filed legal proceedings at the Supreme Court yesterday.
Right. Mr. Reis, what do we have here? What's the way forward? Yes, the ADC has gone to the Supreme Court, but after all said and done, doesn't this speak to a rigged process already?
Well, you see, some analysts had earlier submitted that there are possibilities, there are tendencies of ADC not being in the ballot in the 2027 election. And we're beginning to see a pointer to that in real terms, because initially people were arguing that there's no unseen hand. In fact, everything is going on well and all of that. Now people went to court again on the issue of their congresses. And the issue of congresses, which ordinarily should have been an internal matter of the party, but the courts on their own felt that there's a statutory breach, or there are statutory breaches along the way which makes them justiciable before them. Ordinarily, if it's an internal matter of the political party, it becomes not justiciable. So it will be, be done and settled right inside the political party. But people went to court asking the court to actually intervene on an issue of electoral law or provisions in the electoral law which has not been conformed with. But remember, congresses of a political party is barely an internal party situation. But the court ruled that these congresses are not meant to organize primaries for the political party. That is, the Congress is done, whether caretaker or otherwise, whatever were represented, because some of the parties, most of the parties, after all, that of PDP is caretaker, and nothing has happened. And many others may not have actually gone through extensive congresses conforming to rules and all of that, because these things are internal problems of the party, whether they want a caretaker or elected party members as ESCO members in the party. So, but court has decided that they will adjudicate, they will sit on such matter and do a verdict. And they did a verdict at the High Court. And then they appealed, the NDC appealed to the appellate court, and the appellate court also, affirmed the decision of the High Court. That is where the problem is right now. And the party is insisting that their primaries are not affected by that judgment. That court cannot give what you did not ask for. That the people who went to court did not ask them to nullify their primaries. But the court incidentally, by the way, gave what was not before them. It was not before them to nullify their primaries. You see, so, but by implication, the court is believing that there's an implied meaning to their decision. There's an implied meaning that once those congresses were not well done, then of course it makes invalid, it nullifies every other thing that such caretaker committees at the various levels of the party has done as illegal, invalid. And therefore, by implication, that they are not supposed to recognize the Mark Arabishala leadership any longer. But if we go back to the ruling of the Supreme Court on the Mark Arabishala leadership, we had earlier, if we go to High Court, and High Court also, tends to nullify everything that's attacking Arabishala Mark. Another High Court now decided to say the caretaker committees are illegal, and so on and so forth. These are from coordinated jurisdiction we have had, but I do not know if there were presentations made at the appeal court on the other High Court's decision on Mark Arabishala, just most recently. So all these court issues have brought about a lot of apprehension in party politics, and especially within the opposition political parties. There's been a lot of tension, apprehension, which tends to point at the fact that the opposition is being cowed, opposition is being intimidated, opposition is, the ruling party do not even want opposition to thrive. But any democracy that will thrive because of a violent opposition. But if the opposition is cowed, the opposition is intimidated, the opposition is not given a chance, then we are beginning to see a one-party line that might crush democracy in Nigeria, because everything will be done undemocratically because there's nobody to present or make the available checks and balances to work. If the checks and balances does not work in a system, it means that tyranny or dictatorship is creeping into the system. And if we have to be truthful to ourselves, if we are not biased in saying it, we are beginning to see tyranny, oppression in party politics in Nigeria. And we would want to actually say that the courts should refrain from actually stepping into the political arena proper. They should be careful. Somebody said, and I quote, that justice, law, is common sense. So they should actually use their common sense to know what is right. When we do not have this set of laws, we are governing ourselves by way of convention, using our common sense and knowing what is right and what is wrong, and trying to, make findings on claims and counterclaims from any quarters as presented to any organized society. So that we should be mindful of, the court should be mindful of the way they are dabbling into the affairs of political parties.
All right, Mr. Ress, yes. I see that most of your position are anchored on the minority, judgment by Justice Mohammed Abba. However, the question here is...
And remember, Justice Mohammed is the leader of the panel.
Yes, but he gave a dissenting judgment in
yes,
this
he
very
gave
matter.
a dissenting judgment.
Yes.
And his judgment is anchored on not justiciable.
However, the question is beyond the... I know you're doing a comparative analysis on the judiciary involvement in democracy. However, the question at this timing is, knowing that the INEC period for nomination has elapsed, what would be of the ADC should the Supreme Court, perhaps in the yard of conjecture, oppose the appellate court majority ruling on this very issue? What will be the fate of the likes of Atiku Abubakar and the myriads of candidates under the platform of ADC?
The faction, that ADC faction will go to bed and sleep and forget about the general election come 2027. That is the implication if the Supreme Court oppose the decision of the appellate court. Now, Bala Gombe has been given the right to upload the candidates of ADC. So there will still be an ADC that will participate in the election, which means that that decision will finally have laid to rest the issue of Bala Gombe, assuming he is the leader or the chairman of the party. It would have nullified it. It would have it would have messed up the rest in that particular matter that is pending before the High Court. Remember, there's that matter. So the decision will now nullify that thing, and anything about that court issue will be just an academic exercise for those who are hearing and sitting on it. Okay? So, because if Bala Gombe uploads the party's candidates for it, then the Atiku Abubakar Rebeshola Mark faction is dead. it's either they join Balagombe as party members.
Yes, that's the next line of question I wanted to ask you. Have we crossed the political threshold for reconciliation in this very matter?
Well, I have not seen any move for reconciliation because the moves for reconciliation was done even when Rabi Kwankwaso was in the party. He actually wanted to talk to, Balagombe and of course reconcile those things. So the issue of reconciliation does not come into the picture presently. And I do not even see such reconciliation because they have gotten to a point of no return.
All right.
Okay, moving on to the next story. This is on the Frontline Africa, frontlineafrica.com.ng. The headline reads, Federal Government Suspends Proposed WIKE NECO Fee Hike. Federal Government suspends proposed WIKE NECO Fee Hike. The federal government has suspended the proposed review of registration fees for the 2027 West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination and the National Examinations Council Senior School Certificate Examination, which was announced yesterday from a statement that was sent, or a circular that was sent June 18th, 2026. And they said, according to the Minister of Education, that this proposal would be suspended pending all consultations with examination bodies, state ministries of education, school proprietors, parent association, and all stakeholders involved.
Mr. Rez, do we celebrate this suspension at the moment?
Why, what about celebrating what they had done and withdrawn? What is the celebration about it? They will do it because they know they did not do the right thing. You see, they said they are now going to, actually get involved with the proprietors, that stakeholders in the education industry to begin to talk about whatever they want the fee to be. But they did not do that. They hurriedly announced it. And federal government has now suspended it, and you want us to start celebrating that pressure which would have been, heaved on parents and those who are, taking care of these children, the school children, and paying for these fees. The pressure is high. The economy is bad. Where do they get all the money? Some of them have 1, 2, 3, 4 persons in school. Their wards, related relations, and their own direct children. Some people, have those that will be registered for the exams, both exams. So the examining bodies actually wanted more money into their coffers, given the fact that they are incapable of meeting up with expenditure. But I expect that government has to augment these things. That is the purpose for which we have a government. These people, government has to augment them because government has votes for education, and they should, from the votes for education, augment these things and make life more meaningful for the people. But when you say it is now related to this or that, the price becomes high, then there'll be so much pressure on parents. There'll be so much pressure on persons taking the responsibility of training people and children and registering them for such exams, like NECO, the WIKE, and all that. You see, from 27,000 to a very astronomical level, it is not good for Nigeria. More so when the cost of just feeding is high and many people cannot afford 2 square meals a day. Many families cannot afford transportation. Many trek to work these days, and so on and so forth. Where do we begin to think about? We can't afford even the house rent. You find it's difficult, and it's astronomical now, given the taxes that are coming from the government of states and federal. I mean, there's so much problems about managing the affair of families, and the money that the families get from the meager salaries they get from wherever they work, both private and public sector. is so infinitesimal to take care of this responsibility. So how do you expect that people should be celebrating? I am not celebrating. I don't have any cause for celebration. I will have a cause for celebration when the government begin to touch on the economy with indices that will show that I am happy as a poor Nigerian, that others are happy as poor Nigerians. So that is exactly what my input should be on this.
And what I would like to add to this is them suspending this implementation does not mean they won't come back to it. So it's just a delayed, I see it as a delayed tactics, because the thing with the government is once they've said something, however time it's going to take for that thing to be implemented, it might surely get implemented. And seeing that they've already announced it, and it's like the circular said from the Minister of Education, just to, okay, this is what we want to do, how would we, but they will still come back to the same amount. Or even if they don't finally arrive at that 50 that they propose, it's going to be way more than the 27,500 that is currently being paid. So just a delayed tactics on something that they will still eventually do.
All right. Both positions are quite granted. A number of times we'll take a very extreme end to issues when government is involved. When you look at the situation, without considering the fact that, yes, the economy, is tanking, and that the Nigerian people are said to be, paying out of pocket for a lot of things without consummate government presence when it comes to, the price of staple foods in the market, transportation, and all that. And cumulatively, the price of things, when you do not wholeheartedly acknowledge government's, absence from these issues when you look at the economy and every other thing around it. But the fact remains that every other thing, the price of things have gone up. And we wouldn't negate the fact that the said Ministry of Education invited the agencies, both WIEC and NECO, and they factually looked into this issue and arrived to the fact that the cost of conducting this examination have become quite high, such that it now necessitates a review, an upward review of what the price is. Yes, we'll concede to the fact that there are many Nigerians who cannot even afford the present, fee when you look at it. Yes, and taking into consideration that the out-of-school children in Nigeria are way above 18 million, children who are out of school. And when you, between the ages of 6 to 11 years, and when you go higher than 15, for example, you see that the number is higher than 20 million. But when you congregate this fact, we have to be factual that, yes, given the reality on ground, that there has to be an upward review of this amount. But the question is that, yes, the 50 may be quite on the very high side. However, every person, every stakeholder, like they have said, they have resolved to go for broader consultation with stakeholders. At the end of the day, what we expect, yes, if there may be a review, upwards review, but it may not be such that could get to that amount, make it even more amenable that everyone, parents can afford, even those that have 2 children or 3 in schools can afford it. But we need to consider the fact that government, and the situation in Nigeria is such that the prices of things have gone high and there's need for upward review. Yes, one may argue from the other end, when I listen to Mr. Rez, that there are a lot of things that we desire from the government ends that are not being done in terms of maybe subsidizing the prices of these external examinations and all that. Yes, those are granted, but we must not forget the fact that there has to be, at this point in time, a broader consultation of all stakeholders, both parents, both students, and even the examination bodies and teachers to arrive at an acceptable rate.
All right, we'll continue on the conversations for the morning, but we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
In a world where safety matters and vigilance saves lives,
information is power. Awareness is protection.
from our streets to our homes, From local communities to national security, Security Watch brings you timely reports, expert analysis, and trusted updates on security issues that matter to you.
Stay alert, stay informed, stay safe.
Security Watch, every week only on Aneke TV.
You're welcome back. Now moving on to the next story on the front cover page of the Punch newspaper. This is on Oyo abduction. Presidency slams Makinde over demand for UN probe. Presidency slams Makinde over demand for UN probe. The presidency on Monday criticized Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde over his call for a United Nations-led investigation into the abduction of pupils and teachers in the state. Now, Makinde, while formally addressing or assuming responsibility for the welfare of these 45 teachers and pupils rescued, demanded or has called for a UN-backed investigation into the abduction, saying Nigerians deserve a full account of the circumstances surrounding the incident and the rescue.
All right, before we go into that conversation, let's get the clip and listen to Seyi Makinde himself.
Dear good people of Oyo State, today our hearts are filled with immense relief as the children and teachers abducted from the Hauro, Eshile, and Yawata communities in Orire local government area have finally been reunited with their families. For every parent who endured weeks of uncertainty, every child who lived through this traumatic experience, and every citizen who prayed and hoped for their safe return, this is indeed a moment of thanksgiving. Yet, even as we rejoice, our relief is tempered by profound sorrow. We mourn the tragic loss of lives in the course of this unfortunate incident. Among them were two dedicated teachers, Mr. Joel Adeshian, who was killed on the day of the abduction within the school premises, and Deacon John Olaleye, who died while in captivity. Many Nigerians witnessed the horrifying video showing the brutal murder of Mr. Michael Oyedokun, a dedicated teacher whose life was cruelly cut short by these terrorists. We will never forget security personnel, hunters, and members of the Oyo State Amotekun Corps who paid the ultimate price in the line of duty. Lieutenant F.A. Isaac, Mr. Adegun Shuaibu, Mr. Isa Saliu, Mr. Rafiu Ayuba, and an unnamed soldier. We pray that Almighty God grant them eternal rest and give strength and comfort to their families during this painful period. We also honor the courage of Mr. Bamidele Paul, who sustained serious injuries and is presently receiving treatment. We pray for his full and speedy recovery. I thank the people of Oyo State for their patience, resilience, and cooperation throughout these difficult weeks, especially those whose daily lives were disrupted by the security measures and curfews that became necessary in the interest of public safety. While we give thanks today, we must also remain vigilant. The threat posed by criminal elements has not disappeared. Experience from other parts of our country has shown that terrorist and bandit groups often seek to strike again where they perceive vulnerability. We must therefore not allow this moment of relief to become a moment of complacency. Security is everyone's responsibility. If you see anything suspicious, report it immediately to the appropriate security agencies. You may also call 615, Oyo State's toll-free emergency line for security and other emergencies. The vigilance of our communities remains one of our greatest strengths. This painful experience has also compelled us to rethink how we secure communities that border the old Oyo National Park. Under our Constitution, national parks fall under the jurisdiction of the federal government, and we respect that constitutional arrangement. However, constitutional limits do not diminish our responsibility to do everything within our lawful powers to protect the people of Oyo State. Accordingly, the Oyo State government will immediately strengthen oversight of all access routes leading into and out of the old Oyo National Park through our adjoining local government areas. We shall introduce appropriate measures to regulate movement through these corridors, improve community intelligence, strengthen collaboration with local communities and security agencies, and establish clear protocols that make it more difficult for criminal elements to exploit our border communities as safe passage or operational basis. Detailed implementation guidelines will be announced shortly. Leadership is ultimately measured not only by how we respond to tragedy, but by whether we learn from it and build stronger institutions afterwards. That is the commitment we make to the people of Oyo State today. The reunion of these children and teachers with their families does not mark the end of this painful chapter. It marks the beginning of another responsibility, our collective responsibility to establish the truth. The circumstances surrounding this incident are sufficiently grave and unusual to warrant independent scrutiny beyond our domestic institutions. I therefore, with a full sense of responsibility as the Executive Governor of Oyo State, call on the appropriate international human rights and accountability mechanisms, including those within the United Nations system, to closely examine the facts surrounding this abduction and the circumstances of its resolution. Such scrutiny is not intended to undermine our institutions. Rather, it is intended to reinforce public confidence that the truth will be established and that every person found to bear responsibility, regardless of office, influence, or affiliation, will be held accountable. Under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the primary responsibility for national security rests with the federal government and the security agencies under its command. The Nigerian people, therefore, deserve a full and transparent account of what happened, who was responsible, whether there were institutional failures, negligence, or collusion at any level, and what measures must now be taken to ensure that no community is ever subjected to such an ordeal again. This is not about politics. It is about justice for the victims, reassurance for our people, and restoring public confidence that every Nigerian child can go to school without fear. To every parent across Oyo State, let me assure you that your government has heard your fears. We will not relent until every lawful step has been taken to make our schools and communities safer for our children. As the government of Oyo State, we will continue to support every lawful effort that strengthens our security architecture, protects our people, and brings every person responsible for this tragedy to justice. May Almighty God continue to watch over us. God bless Oyo State. State, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Mr. S, we'll listen to the Governor Sheyi Makinde of your state. But my question is, this very position has raised controversies. But before we talk about that, my question is, are we ready as a people, as a nation, to have this conversation? Because he raised a very critical question, that there has to be an inquest on what transpired, how this came about. So my question is, are we really prepared as a people to have this conversation against the background of the response from Bayo Ononoga on this very issue?
No, that's exactly, that is a critical question that should be asked, that the government of the day is not comfortable with the call of Makinde, because they see the call of Makinde as something that begins to point at a kind of institutional failure, that points at lack of credibility on the quarters of the person in charge of the national security. That is exactly the pointer, that people do not believe so much on whatever they are going to come out with as their own investigation. There are people who will not believe on what the international community, what independent agencies will come out with. This same call is the same that is being made for the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council.
Yes.
It is the fact of it. This is the kind of call, because even Ademi himself called on the federal government to institute an international independent forensic investigation panel. That he will be more abreast, because he does not have confidence in what the agency of government, the same government that's already saying everything is fair, will come out with. That he is not confident that the ICPC will become independent in doing the investigation free and fair. That is exactly the pointer to Makinde's position. The pointer to Makinde's condition is that they do not have confidence on the federal government coming out to say exactly what happened. How could it happen that way? Who was supposed to take care of certain things, and it so happened that people were abducted and nothing was being done until after a while, when there were tongue lashes everywhere. Because initially, when that thing was done, we were hearing just rhetorics that we are going to do. It is upon the federal government to do something meaningful and ensure that these children and teachers were released. But they did not come until the international community even began to say things about the abduction and release of these children. So the man now calls, it should be investigated. Let us see if somebody has shown some level of, complacency in ensuring that the person did not do what the person ought to do as part of a system that has to do with security in Nigeria. That is exactly what he called for. He has. I don't think what he said is bad and terrible. He called for something that will give Nigerians the belief that they are on course. He called for something that will give Nigerians confidence, that Nigerians will have confidence that somebody has come out and this is the way it is. And the same call has been made in the area of the fake agency that the government, the fake agency in quotes, that is being investigated presently. The same call. So, and I have not seen such a, bias, or it's not bias. I won't use the word bias. Such response from the presidency on the other call on the issue of fake agency, but in the present circumstance, they have hurriedly responded in such a way that they are now feeling that something is wrong somewhere. They are now beginning to attack the governor for saying that something should be peacefully done. When you're talking about investigating, when you're talking about international civil society investigating, and unbiased umpire investigating, there's nothing wrong in that. I do not see.
All right. Very well submitted. You know, starting with this issue, there has been a lot of postulation. You've seen divided opinion depending on what and where one leans, you know, in Nigeria at this moment. Yes, personally, you know, without being sentimental, I believe, and I side the governor, that Nigerians deserve to know there has to be a proper inquest, you know, into the circumstances that led surrounding these very incidents. And that's, before I go even into that, I think the governor, you know, while making this call, you know, should have, in this very regard, perhaps he's waiting for when and the inquest starts to reveal more. There are many questions, if I happen to be in closer proximity, that I would ask the governor personally. Was he, throughout this period, has he been in communication with the C&C? Have they been, you know, has he had direct, unhindered access to the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? That's one question. Why there are inferred answers to that. Beyond that, again, the other question to ask, you know, that one feel that the governor should, you know, come out with and tell us is, if there have been communication, what is this line of communication, and then why did it take such a long time? And based on that, we'll go into the inquest. Now, raising other critical questions, even beyond the issue of the phantom agency that you've raised, there are speculation and postulation that the present administration, speaking to the APC government that came into power, you know, exploiting the Chibok situation, that up to this moment, we've not really resolved the issues around the Chibok gears in this very instance. And now, the people are beginning to draw similitude between the incident in Oyo State and the Chibok situation, and being that that one is not arrested, then the Nigerian nation deserves a proper inquest to really know how come this happened, against the background that, yes, that when it happened in Chibok, even the then administration were, though seemingly helpless, pointed a lot of accusing fingers in different directions. Some of those fingers equally pointed towards elements of the ruling APC at this instance. So, you know, like Caesar's wife, whoever should come should appear to be beyond reproach. And that's the position I think that the government, the administration in these present circumstances, should be at the forefront of leading an unbiased forensic inquest into how these issues happen, and that will settle a lot of frayed nerves, you know. And the governor has gone ahead to, you know, call for an international agency, a UN inquest. But when you look at the Bayo-Ononuga's position on this issue, it goes beyond not having faith in the Nigerian security establishment, but in establishing, you know, the factors that, you know, enabled this to reoccur in Nigeria. Because I've equally been in a forum where people are asking questions, why is it that it was at the time the governor declared interest to run for a presidential position that this happened? So we need to tick and dot a lot of these I's so that whoever emerges in whatever position will be beyond reproach, that these answers would go far more to do more favor to the administration rather than, you know, cover it in the cloak of the security position on account of what has happened. And it may begin proper healing, you know, to the families and the people who have been so traumatized, and the Nigerian nation will begin to have a close on this issue. I just for want of time, I believe that over time we may have time to look beyond, the analysis into this very situation. And I hope that the call from the state governor, if a state governor is seemingly this helpless, then how much more ordinary Nigerians? These are the issues. But I believe that in much more time, that more will be unraveled and we'll have time to digest this.
Okay, now that's all we're taking for the newspapers and analysis this morning. We're going straight into our sports update for the morning. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Every day, your health shapes your life, your strength, your choices, your future. Because knowledge is the first step towards well-being.
This is Health Matters, only on Aneke TV.
The Insight with Uche Osai.
Having the political will to confront whatever is the challenges.
Igbo man wrestles with
the tortoise that had a lot of ingenuity, a lot of ideas, and the tireless.
It will take the bold mind of government in power to say, let there be electoral reform, no matter whose ox is God.
And it's there. We did everything. All of us came and supported him with our last blood.
In-depth analysis, expert views, real voices, uncover the stories shaping Nigeria today. Deep dive, honest, unfiltered, only on the Insight with Uche Osai on Aneke TV. Join us.
In a world where safety matters and vigilance saves lives.
Information is power. Awareness is protection.
You're welcome back. Now we're joined by the sports oracle himself to bring us updates from football and other sports.
Good morning and welcome to...
Okay, let me do it properly. Let me do it properly. Yes, we are joined here on Sunrise by the man who eats, breathes, wakes up, thinks, lives football. Mr. Good Hope, the sports oracle himself.
Good morning. This is the sports arena, and thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I always look up to that, so I mean, yours could be.
I mean, I was waiting for him to do the honors,
okay,
but
and
he just enjoys
that
special
it's very
No, beyond enjoying it, it has a history. Maybe some of these days will let you into that history.
Well, today promises to be interesting as we have the FIFA World Cup semi-final coming in the evening by 8 p.m. I bet you don't miss that game. France versus Spain is coming up, and that's the match that everyone who is a sport lover, especially football, would want to see, to know who takes it to the next level, talking about the final that is coming up on Sunday by 8 p.m. And so many rumors around the match, and also having to see England playing tomorrow too against Argentina after it has been many years that they faced. Of course, Argentina has never faced England in any way, in any match. So this is the first time Lionel Messi is going to face England. And also, if England had to move to the final, it will be just right there that they are going to, of course, everyone will be wishing them to win the final. Now, let's talk about the match of today before we just go into transfers. Mr. Rex, I will just go over to you first, because seeing that there have been so many agendas and propaganda, seeing that France is going to take Spain again, what do you think about Spain winning France and France winning Spain?
Well, it's going to be a tough match. Both countries are good. They are good in football. Their football is well developed, and they have beautiful team in this World Cup.
Yes.
So it is going to be very tough. I expect that the match will end in penalties, and France will take the day.
Okay, you France will take the day. I'm not going to go to Ochoma because she would say that she wants France to take the day. But I'm
Actually,
actually sure that Mr. Uche has a different opinion
England just because of Harry Kane. I mean, the man has tried. So he deserves. He has tried.
Anyway, of course,
he has tried. So I would have chosen England, but because of Messi. I mean, I'll be unfair to that. I mean, we know who he's likely to be the better player amongst the two teams.
Since you're an Arsenal fan, so you may not have an option because you guys just operate
England.
Whoever wins, and that's
that does not exist.
That's not how. Of course, your guy Mikel Merino has been scoring, and he has been doing the late winner. He gave Portugal.
England has been doing.
No, I'm talking about Spain, France now. From Mikel Merino on the Spanish player, Spanish striker.
You're not doing clubs at the moment.
No, I'm telling you that
countries.
Because you guys have, touched just a trophy after 22 years.
The season is about to start.
Excited, boys.
It's really about the trophy we won.
Anyway,
a few months back.
Anyway,
we are talking about World Cup.
My position on these matches. My position on these matches. Yeah, sentimentally, I'm somehow, akin to Spain. Emerging from against France, but I know it's a tough ask. Yes, somehow I may see France coming through, but I would have wished Spain. But my position is that the winner between England and Argentina will be the winner of the World Cup. Just mark it.
Well, that has been the position of Mr. Uche for a while because he's looking forward
to the winner from England, Argentina will be the winner of the World Cup.
He's looking forward to having Messi in the final. And let's just take a look at what's happening in the world of transfer, where you have, Tillemans, has signed for Manchester United.
Has Arsenal signed any player?
Arsenal just signed one Yorkshire guy who I don't really know where he's from.
500,000 pounds.
This is not nice. It's a full transfer.
Has no looking at the world of
transfer. Is it a free transfer?
She knows better, I would say. But for me, it's not even a free transfer. The worst people in those transfer season so far, we could say it's Chelsea.
About money.
Okay, what's this about, sir?
When Messi was signed, how much? When they were going, of course they gave Messi and one other person to the Arsenal coach. Then he just took.
You see, don't go into that postulation. When you talk about Messi in the world of signing, Barcelona then made a lot of investment in Messi, and that could be quantified for any amount, any player.
They made a lot of investment.
No doubt. But I'm saying it's not about how much somebody signed that actually makes the delivery.
He has gone to make the difference. Over time, he has continued to make the difference.
No, it's not about how much money. People were signing.
Those amounts has continued to make a difference. Look at Mbappe today.
No, people were signed. No, excuse me. People were signed at paltry sums. People who were relatively unknown, only to become superstars after all.
So that leaves Arsenal as a feeders team to establish clubs.
Arsenal have been signing feeders team, and there have been people like Van Persie,
people to go and shine in other clubs.
Well, to say that Leandro Trossard just had to sign for Besiktas the other day. The Arsenal maestro, he signed for being Besiktas the other day. That has already raised a lot of questions. Why did Mikel Arteta let this guy go? Of course, Arsenal is going for Bruno Guimaraes. So at the end of the day, we'll see what happens if we'll be able to afford the 100 million midfielder.
How can you even talk about affording when we made the best of money?
It's not about making money, it's about spending money. Money is about spending money. Now you make money doesn't mean that you can afford it. Now you make money doesn't mean you can afford it.
How much money?
It doesn't mean you can afford it. Arsenal has always been in the game of making money. Being able to spend it as a player. If you're not able to spend money, when you talk about people who buy players, Arsenal don't buy players. Arsenal pick a bargain. You understand? That's what Arsenal is known for. If not, you won't equate Arsenal to the likes of Man City that spends the money, or the likes of Chelsea under Abramovich.
Yeah,
or you about the Liverpool of Let me tell you, even Man United is far better in the transfer windows than Arsenal could be.
Anyway.
For the interim, Arsenal has done well in terms of signing players at huge sums.
No, let's put it in perspective, Mr. Rex. Let's put it in perspective.
Recently,
Arsenal has done well in bringing up feeder players.
No, we signed players at huge sums last season.
Which sum? What do you call huge sums?
Mr. Rex, we are out of time. Thank you so much for staying with us this morning on The Morning Show. It's been a pleasure having you. But before I go, I'll leave you with this quote from Steve Biko. The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Till I come your way again, same time tomorrow, and Princess Kenachoma. Have a lovely day.
The sports oracle himself. Thank you for this analysis on sunrise.
Thank you so much.
And to Aneke TV's in-house analyst, Res Arum, thank you for the in-depth analysis on these issues.
Thank you for having me. And for you, viewer, continue with Aneke TV.
And I'm Uche Osai. Remember, you are not here to be average. Be unique. Keep watching Aneke TV. Till we come your way, same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Security is not just police on patrol. It is safety in homes, schools, markets, and mines. Without it, progress is impossible. Be alert, report danger, support community watch. True security is collective responsibility.
Nigeria, a land of striking contrasts, where nature unfolds into dominant ecological identities. The lush southern forest and the vast northern savanna belts, stretching from the humid Atlantic coast to the dry fringes of the Sahara. Nigeria's vegetation is shaped by climate, rainfall, and human activity. Broadly, it is divided into the southern forest zones and the northern savanna belts. In the south, abundant rainfall gives rise to tropical rainforest, thick, multi-layered ecosystems, rich in biodiversity, towering trees from a continuous canopy, sheltering countless plants and animal species. These forests are not only ecological treasures, but also economic lifelines, supporting agriculture and livelihoods. Closer to the coast, fresh water and mangrove swamps dominate. Here, water and land intertwine, creating unique habitats adapted to flooding and salinity. The mangrove forests of the Niger Delta are among the largest in Africa, vital for coastal protection and marine life. Moving northward, forests gradually give way to the Guinea savanna, a mix of tall grasses and scattered trees. This region supports farming and livestock, forming Nigeria's agricultural heartland. Further north lies the Sudan savanna, where rainfall decreases and vegetation becomes sparser. Life here adapts to longer dry seasons and harsher conditions. At the northern edge, the Sahel savanna marks the transition to the desert. Vegetation is sparse, and survival depends on resilience of both people and nature. However, Nigeria's vegetation faces growing threats. Deforestation in the south and desertification in the north are reshaping the landscape. Population growth, agriculture, and climate change continue to exert pressure on these fragile ecosystems. Yet, hope remains. Across the country, conservation efforts are taking root, from reforestation projects to sustainable land management practices, from the dense forests of the south to the open savannas of the north. Nigeria's vegetation tells a story of diversity, resilience, and responsibility. A story that calls on all of us to protect the natural heritage we share.
Sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV, is one of the most pervasive and pressing human rights issues globally, affecting 1 in 3 women in their lifetime, often by intimate partners. Non-partner sexual violence affects at least 6% of women globally and among adolescent girls aged 15 to 19, with about 15 million having faced forced sex. In regions like sub-Saharan Africa and parts of Asia, including Nigeria, the problem is particularly acute, reflecting deep-seated cultural norms, weak legal systems, and the lack of political will to combat it. In Nigeria, sexual and gender-based violence remains a challenge despite efforts being made by different stakeholders to curb the scourge. This is buttressed by the National Demographic and Health Survey (NDHS) 2018, which revealed that 30% of women aged 15 to 14 have experienced physical violence since age of 15. 7% of women in that same age group reported experiencing sexual violence at some point in their lives, while 1 in 4 women, that's 25%, have experienced spousal violence, emotional, physical, or sexual, by their husbands or partner. What is more disturbing is the prey on children and adolescent victims. According to UNICEF, 25% of girls and 10% of boys in Nigeria have been sexually abused before turning 18. This implies that 1 in 5 Nigerian girls experience sexual violence before 18 years. From metropolitan cities like Abuja and Lagos to rural areas and states across Nigeria, women, girls, men, and boys continue to face physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, often from those closest to them. In some cases, this abuse is perpetuated by influential members of the society. Even more disturbing is that the majority of cases go unreported, buried under layers of fear, ignorance, family ties, shame, and societal silence. Sexual and gender-based violence is not a new phenomenon. Its roots are deeply embedded in history, culture, power dynamics, and deep-seated inequalities in power and social structures, particularly those that perpetuate the dominance of men over women. It's a complex issue with roots in cultural norms, society beliefs, and historical practices that normalize violence and discrimination against women. One of the oldest and most significant roots of SGBV is patriarchy, a societal system where men hold primary power. Societies have historically placed men in dominant roles, with women expected to be submissive, obedient, and silent. This imbalance has often justified violence against women as a means of control or punishment. Harmful traditional practices such as child marriage, female genital mutilation (FGM), widowhood rights, and honor killings are deeply rooted in societal customs. In many cultures, these practices are normalized and rarely questioned, even when they involve violence. Historically, laws and institutions supported or ignored violence against women and marginalized groups. For example, marital rape was not considered a crime in many countries until recent decades. Slavery, colonization, and armed conflicts also contributed to institutionalizing sexual violence, especially against women and girls. SGBV is often used as a weapon of war or conflict, where sexual violence is inflicted to humiliate, dominate, or destroy communities during wars and internal conflicts. Women and girls are often disproportionately targeted by sexual violence. Women have also fallen victims to rape during armed robbery operations. Additionally, economic dependence on men has made many women vulnerable to abuse, as they fear losing support or livelihood if they speak up. In workplaces, schools, and communities, people in authority often exploit their power through coercion and harassment for the purpose of emphasis, Some of the factors contributing to prevalence of SGBV include unequal power relations, inordinate sexual fantasies and orientation, harmful traditional and cultural practices or beliefs, gender stereotypes, lack of enforcement of laws, poverty, armed conflict, denormalization of violence in communities, stigma and victim blaming, family ties, the Nigerian factor, suppression of cases, low awareness about rights, weak institutional frameworks, unwillingness of victims' family to pursue justice, among others. In many cultures, patriarchal norms reinforce male dominance and female subservience, discouraging victims from speaking out or seeking justice. SGBV refers to harmful acts or abuse committed against a person because of his or her sex or gender. It is forcing another person to do something against his or her will through violence, coercion, threats, deception, cultural expectations, or economic means. It includes a wide range of abuses such as domestic or intimate partner violence, forced marriage and child marriage, female genital mutilation (FGM), sexual harassment and exploitation, emotional and psychological abuse. Sexual violence is any act attempted or threatened that is sexual in nature and carried out without the consent of the victim. Sexual violence includes rape and sexual assault, sexual abuse and harassment, exploitation and forced prostitution. It can happen within marriages, especially when there is a lack of consent for sexual activity by one of the spouses. Any sexual activity with a child, any person who has not yet completed 18 years of age, constitutes sexual violence. The impact of SGBV is far-reaching. These acts not only violate fundamental human rights, but also lead to long-term physical, mental, and emotional trauma. It has devastating effects on the development of a child involved, as well as on his or her physical and mental health. SGBV has health, economic, and social impacts on the victims. Victims may suffer from health disorders. Victims may be unable to work or attend school, affecting their economic independence. Survivors often face ostracization, stigma, and isolation from their communities. To combat SGBV effectively, there is need for a multi-sectoral approach that would involve as key actors public awareness. There is need for public awareness on the ills associated with SGBV. Victims, survivors, their families, and other members of the public need information on how to seek help and justice. They need a new orientation on how to handle SGBV cases. They need to be educated on the need of speaking up and seeking justice. Even when community leaders want to cover up, they need to know that there are support services available for them. Community education and media campaigns can help change harmful gender norms and encourage reporting. Strengthen legal. 1. Public awareness. 2. Strengthen legal frameworks. There is a need for strong legislation on SGBV, as well as strict implementation of laws. Existing laws like Child Rights Act 2003, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, VAP Act 2025, and Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Enforcement and Administration Act 2015 should be enforced to the letter. States yet to domesticate the VAP Act should do so and possibly establish special GBV courts or gender response unit or team. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, passed in 2015, has been a significant milestone, but its implementation remains weak and uneven across Nigeria's 36 states. 3. Empower victims. Create safe spaces, hotlines, and shelter for survivors and support them with legal and psychological assistance. Only 30% of victims seek help due to fear, stigma, and lack of trust in law enforcement. 4. Promote gender equality. Address the root causes of gender inequality through education and economic empowerment. 5. Funding. Prosecution of SGBV cases requires funds. The victims and their families are usually financially incapacitated to prosecute the case. In all cases, the prosecution is done by a government agency or ministry within the limited resources available to them. There is need for adequate funding to agencies or units and the Ministry of Justice to help them prosecute the cases. Logistic supports to volunteers and service providers on SGBV issues. 6. Increased number of state councils. Having reasonable number of state councils willing to specialize in SGBV cases will definitely add an impetus in the fight against the scourge. 7. Naming and shaming. Just like Lagos and Anambra states have queued into the policy of naming and shaming the offenders, other states need to align. The Sexual Offender Register, managed by the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, is only accessible online currently. The register serves as a tool to document and track cases of sexual violence and abuse, including those reported, arraigned, or convicted under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition (VAP) Act. The register includes information on convicted offenders as well as those who have been arraigned or reported, with varying levels of access depending on the user and the nature of the information. 8. Train law enforcement. Equip police, judiciary, and healthcare workers to handle SGBV cases with sensitivity and urgency. Aside the already listed measures, establishment of specialized SGBV prosecution units, a national SGBV agency, launched grassroots engagement structures, making it easy for victims to report and seek protection and justice in the case of SGBV. Strengthening of data collection and reporting systems, the designation of special courts for SGBV cases, operationalization of the VAP Law 2017, and robust multi-agency coordination can go a long way in fighting the systemic social malady. The origin of SGBV lies in systemic inequality, reinforced over centuries by culture, power structures, conflict, and law. To eliminate SGBV, societies must address these root causes by promoting equality, education, legal reforms, and accountability. SGBV is so pervasive that the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, and the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, have committed to the global movement to end violence against women and children, which began at the inaugural Women's Global Leadership Institute in 1991. Despite growing awareness and advocacy, millions of women, girls, men and boys continue to face various forms of violence simply because of their gender or sexual orientation. This is why efforts must be doubled to tame the scourge, which is more than a societal issue, but also a public health emergency, a human rights violation, and a barrier to sustainable development. We must join hands together in fighting this menace. If you cannot prosecute or fund a prosecution, you can volunteer information on SGBV. If you cannot volunteer information, you can create awareness or create a safe space for a victim. If you cannot create awareness, you can contribute to diluting the patriarchy, societal structures, and cultural hegemonic practices that normalize violence and discrimination against women. It is also important for state governments to support community initiatives, as well as non-governmental organizations' efforts aimed at preventing sexual and gender-based violence crimes in the country.
morning headlines before you step out, midday updates while you work, evening analysis when the day winds down. Wherever life takes you, Aneke TV keeps you informed, connected, and ahead. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
More than a century after his birth, nearly 3 decades after his death, the question is no longer who Nnamdi Azikiwe was. The more compelling question is why he still matters. In many ways, Azikiwe was a man ahead of his time. At a moment when colonialism sought to define Africans by their limitations, he challenged an entire continent to define itself by its possibilities. He believed Africa's liberation would not be secured by political independence alone. It would also be won in classrooms, libraries, newsrooms, and public institutions, places where ideas shape the future of nations. That belief became the foundation of Zikism, his enduring philosophy of nation building. It was built on 5 principles: mental emancipation, social regeneration, economic determination, political resurgence, and spiritual balance. Mental emancipation called on Africans to reject the inferiority imposed by colonial rule. Social regeneration demanded justice, equity, and respect for human dignity. Economic determination encouraged enterprise and self-reliance. Political resurgence advocated accountable institutions and democratic governance. Spiritual balance insisted that leadership must be guided by character, integrity, and compassion. More than half a century later, those ideas continue to resonate. Across Africa, debates about governance, economic reform, and national unity still echo the principles Azikiwe championed decades ago. He also understood the truth that remains relevant today, that democracy cannot flourish where citizens are uninformed. Long before the internet and the digital age, Azikiwe recognized that access to credible information was essential to freedom. Through the West African pilot and a network of newspapers, he transformed journalism into an instrument of public enlightenment. Reporting the news was never enough. Journalism, he believed, should educate, challenge injustice, and empower citizens to hold leaders accountable. His guiding principle became one of the most enduring statements in African journalism: show the light, and the people will find the way. For generations of journalists, it remains more than a newspaper slogan. It is a statement of purpose. Azikiwe's passion for knowledge extended well beyond the newsroom. As premier of the Eastern region, he championed one of Nigeria's earliest public library systems, convinced that education should never be the privilege of a few, but the right of all. That philosophy lives on today at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, whose guiding principle is the advancement of knowledge without let or hindrance. It reflects his lifelong conviction that education is the surest investment any nation can make. He was also a prolific author through works such as Renaissance Africa, Political Blueprints for Nigeria, The Future of Pan-Africanism, My Odyssey, and History Will Vindicate the Just. Azikiwe explored democracy, constitutional government, African unity, and the responsibilities of leadership. His writings continue to influence scholars, historians, and students of African political thought around the world. Perhaps the clearest measure of his national significance is found in the institutions that bear his name. Nigeria's principal international gateway, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Awka, Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital in Nnewi, the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu. Schools, libraries, roads, and civic institutions across the country all stand as lasting reminders of his contribution to nation building. His portrait on the 500 naira banknote ensures that millions of Nigerians encounter his image every day, a reminder of one of the architects of the nation's independence. Azikiwe's greatest legacy cannot be measured in airports, universities, or monuments. It lives in the values he championed. The belief that education should produce enlightened citizens, not graduates. That leadership is a responsibility, not an entitlement. That journalism must speak truth to power. And that Nigeria's diversity should be harnessed as a source of strength, not exploited as a fault line. Today, as many African nations grapple with questions of leadership, economic transformation, youth unemployment, and democratic governance, Azikiwe's ideas have acquired fresh relevance. His call for informed citizenship, ethical leadership, investment in human capital, and confidence in Africa's own potential speaks as powerfully today as it did during the struggle for independence. That is why Nnamdi Azikiwe still matters, not simply because he became Nigeria's first president, not simply because he helped win independence, but because he challenged generations of Africans to believe that the true wealth of any nation lies not beneath its soil, but within the minds of his people. Leaders may pass, institutions may evolve, but ideas endure. More than a century after his birth, the ideas of Zik of Africa continue to illuminate the path towards a more united, enlightened, and prosperous Africa.
In a world that never stands still, where stories break in seconds and moments shape history, one station keeps you connected to your nation, to the continent, to the world.
From breaking news to powerful stories, from business and politics to culture, lifestyle, and entertainment, we inform, we inspire, we keep you ahead.
This is more than television. This is your window to everywhere that matters.
Aneke TV. Move with the world.
We have evolved, but it seems to me that our ideas of gender have not.
I actually detest this behavior more than I detest politics.
I think including women in leadership is essential.
Particularly how we educate girls. That is
5 daughters is what he had, and that's not such a big deal in northern Nigeria. Where's the son?
The only thing I can do is to match them on the field of politics. And my husband said, finally.
If there's any way I can improve myself, I'm on that journey.
Across Nigeria's dynamic economy, enterprise is on the move. From the resilience of small businesses to the expanding reach of indigenous industries, commerce thrives on innovation, determination, and vision. Finance is evolving, powered by technology and driven by a new generation of entrepreneurs. In a rapidly changing world, digital transformation is redefining how we save, invest, and grow wealth. From energy to agriculture, manufacturing to tech, Nigeria's economic landscape continues to diversify. Policies shift, markets respond, and opportunities emerge. Every figure tells a story. Every trend shapes the future. The question is, where is the next opportunity? On Aneke TV, we bring you clarity beyond the numbers. This is Business Outlook on Aneke TV, tracking the markets, analyzing the trends, and spotlighting the drivers of economic growth. Aneke TV, informing enterprise, shaping perspective. In an age of endless information, the true advantage is not access, it is interpretation. Welcome to Aneke TV, where journalism goes beyond headlines, beyond reaction, beyond speculation. Here, stories are investigated, issues are analyzed, voices are challenged, because an informed society is a stronger society. A discerning audience is a powerful audience. We are live, daily broadcasting, relentless clarity. Aneke TV, where knowledge meets broadcast.